So today I want to talk about Nintendo Switch 2 and specifically the display technology that may be included in this console at launch. Because if you're somebody who's kept up with a lot of the different rumor mill speculation talk around this upcoming Nintendo console, that, to be fair, we don't know that it's called Switch 2. You know that it's the successor to the Switch is what we are talking about. Their true next-gen leap forward. And there's been some reports from very credible names like Nate the Hate and VGC, various different outlets chiming in, that we should maybe expect an 8-inch LCD display, which while the size increase would actually be an upgrade, you probably know that from a technology standpoint, LCD is not typically ever as impressive as OLED. OLED pretty much wins out every single time, albeit a lot of different technologies have gotten LCD that much closer to the quality of OLED, but there is still a distinctive difference, and that led many people to suspect that maybe the launch model of this Switch 2 will come out with an LCD display, and we will see yet another refresh a few years into the console that will be an OLED model, similar to what we saw Nintendo do with the base model Switch that we have today. However, there are now some interesting reports that suggest that in the manufacturing process, Nintendo could be gearing up to order a large amount of Samsung OLED displays, and some of this goes into a lawsuit that's going on between two different display manufacturers, Samsung claiming that their display technology is being infringed on, and this could cause a situation where Nintendo would not want to work with the other partner that is caught up within this lawsuit, because there is inherently risk that would come along with that if Nintendo stuck with their chosen partner so far. And before we get on the same page with all of the exact details, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And with that, we do need to hop over to notebookcheck.net, where they have a nice detailed typed up article outlining everything being claimed here. Nintendo Switch 2 OLED rumor potentially resurfaces, helping multiple SKUs theory become more credible. A report out of Korea may have offered some hope for Nintendo Switch fans wishing for a Switch 2 with an OLED panel. Recent rumors about the next generation console have lent toward the idea that the Nintendo Switch 2 would come with a cost-cutting LCD panel. However, multiple models would increase the chances of a Switch 2 OLED model turning up at some point. A recent article from a Korean language news site, Chosen Biz, which probably is not the right way to say that, which is available in English, has created the suggestion that the Nintendo Switch 2 could come with an OLED panel. The article itself focuses on industry decisions made in regards to the selection of panels from either BOE or Samsung Display, something both Valve with its Steam Deck and Nintendo have apparently had to make. It appears that Samsung Display accusing BOE of allegedly getting a hold of some of the former's OLED trade secrets and the legal issues that will ensue has given Valve and Nintendo pause for thought. So as Nintendo supposedly looks to Samsung Display for OLED panel supply, the article makes this pertinent statement. Nintendo is reportedly in talks with Samsung Display to supply next generation OLED organic light emitting diode panels for various IT devices. Obviously, this could mean supplying panels for the current Switch OLED model, but the term next generation used here does seem to indicate a future IT device. In addition, apparently Nintendo asked Samsung Display to start producing these displays very recently, December 1st, so it is understandable why some might take this as a pointer for a Nintendo Switch 2 OLED model due to the timing. However, what can still be argued is that this may also point to Nintendo working on multiple SKUs of the Nintendo Switch. There are already rumors spreading about a potential pocket or mini variant, and there are existing rumors about a digital edition of the Switch 2 being in the works. Nintendo might still launch the Switch 2 with an LCD panel and then simply offer a more expensive OLED model at the same time or further down the line. Either way, it appears it will be the Samsung Display that is chosen OLED supplier rather than BOE. So that particular article tries to make the correlation to the previous rumor that we talked about on the channel, suggesting that maybe Nintendo is planning multiple SKUs of the Nintendo Switch 2 at launch. I tend to buy into that part a little bit less. I definitely don't think we're going to see a digital only edition Nintendo Switch in addition to a physical cartridge slot one. I think they may do something like that in the future, but not at launch. But what will be interesting to see is whether or not Nintendo would entertain the idea of doing a standard edition LCD Nintendo Switch SKU and a more premium OLED model? Do we see them launch something like the standard LCD at a $400 price point and the OLED model at a $450 price point? I do think you can argue that because there are a large portion of Switch users that primarily play docked and really don't see the value in an OLED display because they're primarily playing their games on the TV and they're really not taking that Switch portably very much. If you were talking about, on the other hand, somebody who plays almost primarily in handheld and only sometimes in docked, at that point, the extra $50 or whatever they choose to charge would be a no-brainer upgrade because it is that much of a difference in image quality. And could Nintendo even do something like a size difference from the $400 price point LCD version and a $450 price point OLED version, where you only get the 8-inch display on the OLED edition and you get something like a 7.5 on the base edition? I don't know that that will be the case at all, and I also hope Nintendo keeps this launch relatively simple and straightforward, just like we saw them do with the original Nintendo Switch, where, yeah, maybe we're going to get multiple refreshes and models as time goes on within this next upcoming console generation's life cycle, but let's not do it at the start and kind of cloud and confuse everybody who wants to go get one of these things. Not to mention, it is that much more of an issue when it comes to supply and demand and production, because you have two different SKUs. You might only be interested in one, and that one you want to pick up might also be the one that everybody else wants to pick up, so you get into that scalping situation very fast online. Nintendo themselves have commented on their strategy to deal with that is really just sounding like they're going to try to produce as many as possible to come as close to market demand as possible. But as someone who really did see the value in that OLED display upgrade, I really hope that we are talking about an OLED panel for this upcoming console. If you look at the base model Switch next to an OLED, granted, I don't think that an LCD display on the Switch 2 would look anywhere near as bad as the base model Nintendo Switch that I'm referencing here, but if you do look at those two displays side by side, there is a clear visual winner, a day and night difference, and it absolutely goes to the OLED model. Not to mention that upgrade to 7 inches in the screen size was also a very welcome addition, and I think that the 8-inch display would be the perfect, most ideal size for handheld play, especially if it's rocking a bright, vibrant OLED panel. And while there are reports that what Nintendo has been sourcing in terms of the dev kit of what the loose plans of production were going to be going with LCD, that's obviously one of those details that could get changed up at the last moment, and this ongoing lawsuit between these display manufacturers may actually be affecting Nintendo's decision on which route it goes. So I'm less sold on the fact that it will be multiple models at launch. I'm more sold on the fact that we now have a higher chance of just seeing the OLED be the display that they either launch the thing with, or there is that possibility that it is sold as an upgraded feature for something like an extra $50 price point. And honestly, I'm okay with either one of those scenarios as long as we are talking OLED display on Nintendo Switch 2. But I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, your personal thoughts and opinions around this story. Do you think that this leads any credence to the idea that Nintendo could go the OLED display route for their next gen hardware, or do you think that this is something that maybe they're just ordering more OLED panels for the existing Nintendo Switch OLED and it's just funny timing and Nintendo's not actually going to plan on putting an OLED display in the next generation console? Are you like me and you do notice a big difference in your handheld play experience if you're playing on an OLED model versus a base model? And what size screen do you hope we see the next gen Nintendo console launch with? Are you somebody that prefers that 6.2 to 7-inch display size, or are you like me and you think that the 8-inch model, especially with an OLED display, would be a big upgrade for handheld play? So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before we leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch the video on screen next if you haven't already. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.